follow the entire data set of society. It's a shared cluster, of course, or web cluster. So we have the data flowing in from Microsoft into Yahoo because we use Bing for our powering our queries now. Then we have the database layer where we have Oracle as the standard database for us. Then this is the application, the middleware layer. So we have the entire architecture here. So we have Tomcat servers, and then we have batch servers. So Tomcat for both application and batch server. And then we have a grid interface layer where, so this is the part where the Solar is used to power our queries on the tool to do instant lookups. And then we have OZ and launcher on the grid gateway to our grid. So OZ is the workflow that we use to run reports. So we do some applications every day, every week, every month. So all the applications happen through OZ. And then we have HBase. This is primarily to deal with the keyword data because whatever system we have, we write multiple options, and HBase was the one that was kind of best fit for that, where we need to do a lot of quick lookups on the keyword to get the keyword information. Typically, the information would be like what was the bid history for a particular keyword over the last period of time, or what is the traffic associated with that particular keyword. So on a very high level, this is the architecture in the middleware. Then we have memcache, or now we are using Couchbase actually for caching. And we have on the front end we have YUSD, which is our own UI interface. Then we have the PowerPoint library from Microsoft, which is used to generate the text, and we also have a PDF output format available for the users. Then we have our own scheduler interface, which will do the scheduling for all the tasks. So this is not real time. The way it works is users comes and configures the text that they want to generate, and then it goes into a queue. And we connect to all the systems, to Oracle, to Grid, to YCRM, to multiple sources, even to Bing APIs. We make calls to all of the systems and then finally generate it. So this process used to take around, when the actual man hours was around 25 hours per day. This is just apart from the elapsed time when they actually get the request and then do the final output. So they used to spend 25 hours to just to make sense of the data, to identify which data to put where and how to present it. So all that now we have actually made it automated, so we can go into this tool and so this is where, this is a UI for the tool where you can go and select the advertiser, do the configurations and everything. I'll just show the output that comes out of the tool. So this is the final output that comes out. So the time taken now is down from 20 hours of 20 man hours and approximately 3 to 4 days in terms of round time. Now it has come to like 30 minutes to 45 minutes overall. So that's the kind of productivity savings that this one tool that achieved. So basically it will give all sorts of metrics that they want, which they can present to the customers. And then it uses, we generate the PowerPoint of the tool so that they don't have to really do anything. We also have options to put comments here based on the data that they can see. So it uses all the data that we have and finally into a presentable format. At a very high level, like for example, advertiser level or a particular account level. So that's the level of data that we have in our business. Anything below that type, we have, for example, we have around 100,000 advertisers and we have around 15 lakh campaigns and we have around 300 million ad groups, which is the next level of campaign. And then we have around 14 million keywords. So from ad groups onwards, every application sits on the grid. Anything above that we store in the database.
In that, so this is the slide which comes out of this. Here this is also, so this is keyword level data. In the beginning, this is the way of this will bid on these keywords. So this comes out of the directly out of the thing. So you bid on the keywords. Some focus, so finally this comes.
So in terms of maturity, when we started, we had really the reporting run only out of the RDBMS. Like we were not using grid per se. Then we knew that we had to move there because one thing is like we are not able to load all the data into the RDBMS. And for example, we have like say 14 billion keywords, and if we actually try to do a POC to load into an Oracle cluster, which is quite powerful what we have, and it took around 20 hours to just load the data once. And then imagine doing the kind of daily processing over that. So that takes around 5 to 6 hours, sorry, 8 to 10 hours on that. So with that kind of latency, we are not able to answer the questions that they want to answer in a relatively shorter time. And again, it consumes a lot of resources on the database itself. So we thought like we'll do really high level aggregation on the RDBMS system right now. But everything else we go to the grid. So everything else runs on the grid directly.
Can you repeat the question as well?
Okay. His question is why do we go to RDBMS instead of NoSQL, right?
Right.
Okay. So one thing is, so we have a lot of users using our data. This is like, so we can do RDBMS, but we have like reporting requirements. Sometimes it's like within a millisecond or within a second they want to see the data out. So the easiest way for us is to do it from RDBMS because we already have the setup in place. And the second thing is we share the data across multiple systems. For example, MicroStrategy, there is a group which uses MicroStrategy to access the reports, and there are some groups which use web services to feed data out of our warehouse. So I think that, so we wanted to have a common mechanism where everybody can access, and that's why we have Oracle to serve it. Instead, so that's what we are working on right now. So we are building a system which will also do low latency report off the grid that is based on Storm.
For 1 day.
1 hour.
So right now we have a hybrid system where we have because for the low latency query, whatever tools available today for low latency are real-time reporting. Tools are not used only. So we try SAR.
How much time?
We are in this time.
So we don't use that in this particular application. That's for another reporting.
Can you please describe how it is different from genome? You have to do genome, right? That is being developed by Yahoo.
Genome is one of the axes, right? So,
Like what I read about genome was, it's a tool which marketing and advertising organization may use. So that will put their a lot of data with Yahoo and measure both the data of the organization and Yahoo. And they will come up with the predictive analysis type of output. So I suppose this is like how it is different.
So we don't do predictive analysis here. We don't do the forecasting. So we don't have that kind of functionality over there. So this is mainly focused for the sales. So sales use multiple tools, and Genome is one of that. But so here the focus is to crunch the numbers from the history and then give a report out of that and get some insight. Also, of course, there are a lot of actionable things here, but it's not typically forecastable. So that's not something we do.
Genome is part of that because it closely belongs to that. And we are part of analytics, and so both are separate.
So this tool is only for Yahoo or like it's a license?
No, this tool is internal for Yahoo. Next for Yahoo within 20 minutes now they will get this tool they able to reach a large number. This tool has
No, we don't use either of them here. We don't use all that. So all of them is like, you can say like custom development. Sorry? I do know.
So the next session on AWS has started in the other halls. So can we quickly wrap this up?
MD and CEO with us.
Use the mic.
Quick overview of data. Now, we're a Gartner nominated company, Gartner recognized company. There was another report that came out from a week or so ago on BI platforms for Asia APAC, which again we featured last year in a global report of who's doing text analytics. So essentially, we're a company dealing with text analytics, essentially trying to make sense out of unstructured data. That's what we confine ourselves to. We don't look at the structured data part much. Although, as I go through my talk, you're going to be hearing from me, I think, more and more times, that the real value of data or insights come when you try and marry both unstructured and structured data together. That might require a bit of looking at the enterprise data to do an integration, but that's when you can actually get a lot of insights. Anyway, so I should show. I'm going to just focus primarily on social media. And the reason I'm going to focus on social media is because somehow, within the entire scheme of unstructured data, within the entire scheme of text, that's the part that somehow ends up getting talked about the most. So a small question, since you are all attending this session, have you ever worked on unstructured data or primarily text data? What kind of techniques you've used for it? How many of us have actually used it for something? You worked on it? Would we have a quick half-minute description of what you used it for?
So what happened in round one was
Language.
We use primarily R.
So primarily statistical. Any other examples of use of text data to derive insights? Yes.
We've done social media and
And when you did social media, could I ask what tools you use?
so we primarily used spaces.
Okay, so effectively SAS, but if I remember, SPSS is again a statistical technique, right? It doesn't get into natural language processing. Right? Okay, so we're going to start the other way around again. Not too much to cover. As I said, we only have about 15 odd slides. But I would love, if I get an opportunity, to take you through a small demo as well. Essentially, on social media, which is a part of text analytics, but I keep saying it's actually a very small part of text analytics. The real use cases are all are primarily based on internal data, as we were pointing out, call center data, email data. What are people saying? Are they saying good things or bad things? What are the things that they're talking about the most, etc. All these kind of things that you try and get from a text analytics platform. But since we're talking about social data, these are the 4 or 5 things we're trying to cover. Essentially talking about why social media matters and what are the kind of precautions you should sort of take before you sort of go into it. The first thing, while we talk about social media, the first thing that comes to our mind is it's Twitter, it's Facebook, and that's about it, primarily. Not true. Social media could be any data where you actually get customers or other stakeholders talking about you or your company and exchanging notes with each other. So it could very well be a Snapdeal, it could very well be a Flipkart, it could very well be a Mouthshut, it could very well be Amazon, it could be any other place where people can talk about you or your products or your services, or it could just be a general chatbot of students for all you know. The only reason why when people talk about social media, they kind of confine themselves primarily to these two, is it's easy to get data from here. And it's actually easier to get data from Twitter than from Facebook because Facebook has privacy policies and you can't get data unless you're a friend or a friend of a friend, etc., etc., and you're covered in that network. So unless people make their tweets or posts, etc., public, you may not get access to data. Data from other sources is usually available through data aggregators, etc., but it is available. So a TripAdvisor review could potentially allow you to figure out what you can improve in your hotel service, for example. Reviews on car websites could potentially tell you how your car is faring vis-a-vis competition, so on and so forth. And the other part is, somehow when you talk about social media, we somehow automatically mean sentiment analysis. Again, that's not true. By the way, sorry, while I asked a question of how many people have worked with social data in the past, I never asked the question how many people have no idea or have never worked with this, or this is a totally new topic. Totally new. Oh, it's a mixed bag. Okay. So essentially, to get to the basics, people today use text mining techniques to find out what is being said about them, either in channels that they control, for example, customer emails or call center logs. These are controlled channels. But the problem is, you get 20 different emails on 20 different topics or even the same topic. And if I were to ask you, yeah, what's the gist of these 20 emails? It's not very easy for you to figure it out. Right? Because unlike data where you can add stuff up, or as we were hearing from Gramener, it's easy to average stuff. You can't really do that with text data. Right? What do you do? How do you analyze text data? The problem gets multiplied when the data is not in your organization to begin with, it's outside your organization. When all these issues that we talked about in public forum. And the problem with that is that before you get to know what's being said about you, 100 other people have already gotten to know. Now that's good and bad. As a matter of fact, in most cases it ends up being bad, primarily because when people say things, they end up going to these public fora primarily to make a complaint. I'm being so late, I'm here at this and this is bad or whatever else. They can also be talking good things. I'm at this restaurant enjoying fantastic food or whatever. Great thing, gives you free publicity. On the other hand, negative publicity is a lot more dangerous and you should try and avoid that. So that's how text analytics as a part of social media analytics comes into play. I've kind of covered a bit of that. Why social listening would matter? Well, you want to manage your reputation. You don't want lots of guys saying bad things about you. Fair enough. You want to get feedback on your product. Now, what are people saying about my model of the laptop vis-a-vis the competitor's model of the laptop? What are the things they like? What are the things they don't like? how many comments are coming about my laptop, how many comments are not coming about my laptop and coming about the competitor's laptop, and then ideally I want to marry it with my internal sales data, etc., to derive insights from that. Campaign management, I've spent X crores on trying to get my message across to consumers. If you look at politics today, various political parties, the Congress, etc., spending a lot of money. Is it even worth it? Are people actually getting slightly angry at the kind of messaging you're giving as opposed to being satisfied by it? Again, what's the way to find out? You're not going to go and survey 200 people or 2,000 people. On the other hand, there'll be about 15,000 tweets coming in at the moment. So, for example, when Rahul Gandhi met Arnab, even, yes, sort of, that gives you the mood, I guess. But if you actually want to do some actual analysis around it, you can just see the number of tweets spiking up with that particular keyword. And you can actually do a quick sentiment analysis on that as well. Rather say, next time when we go for an interview, these are the kind of things we should versus not talk about. Okay. So that's your campaign management, and that's your trying to figure out, is my strategy that I was thinking about really working or not? And you can also monitor competition, etc. The very interesting thing is, if you want to find out what your employees, or forget employees, what your customers are saying about you on social media, and then trying to tie back that customer information with the customer information already in your internal records. So you're a bank guy, you have every data about your customers, and now you see a random tweet somewhere saying, I'm looking for home loans. I'd love to find out if this gentleman is already my customer and has a saving bank relationship with me, because then I'm trying to go and pitch home loans to him, right? Maybe he's not approached me, maybe he's not even said I need a home loan, maybe he simply said I'm thinking of buying a new house, or stuff like that, or he's sharing that kind of stuff with his friends. It's good if you get to know it, because it's actually good for that guy, he's going to get some preferred rates from you, it's good for you because it's a directed marketing for you. And the overall scheme of things, what happens is the costs of transaction come down. The ultimate beneficiary is again the customer. Okay, there are some esoteric needs as well. I talked about know your customer, etc. But we'll skip these for now. There are some examples of potential things. So, you're an airline, okay, and you're just monitoring. This is not information that you're getting on your customer email. This is just disgruntled customers or some customers standing at the airport, maybe their flights got delayed or whatever else, and just typing away happily on their mobile phones. Blah, 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 blah. Now imagine if this goes unaddressed, what's happening essentially is 50 of his friends get to know about this thing, and maybe they'll form an opinion about the airline while you're trying your best to sort of make sure it doesn't happen. Worse still, if any of these get, say, retweeted, these are all tweets, I have looked at the other sources. If any of these get retweeted, then those 50, out of those 50, maybe 25 have retweeted. Now each of those 25 have another 50 friends who are now seeing the same thing. Right? So the multiplier effect can be absolutely huge in a matter of, literally minutes. And what you need to do is sort of do damage control in some cases as well. On the other hand, you could also have some very, very positive things being said about you. Free publicity, the question for you is, can you actually use it for your marketing campaigns or something like this? I mean, I would be very impressed if an airline actually flew with only one person there. So this gentleman was very impressed, came up, and it's been shown. Since a lot of us are not even familiar with the topic, I'm not going to get into too many details of where you could potentially go wrong when you're trying to do it. But usually people go wrong because they don't know what to do with unstructured data. If you rewind back some years now, maybe when all of us were in school, every time we talked about data now or information, 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, 2 into 8 is equal to 16, yada, whatever. We never considered text to be data. Even today, I've been a manager, I've been a consultant, I'm an MBA, all that stuff. Whenever I have to make a decision, usually we'll say, a correlation chart, regression, there'll be a regression line and stuff like that, and maybe the future is going to look like this. Okay, but maybe yesterday the Prime Minister gave a speech saying the economic growth rate is expected to fall this year. So all your 5-year regressions amount to nothing. Because this piece of information actually led to the stock market being crashing, etc., etc., etc. You haven't factored any of that in your account. So the future decisions should actually be based on sentiments, or they should actually be based on information that's available as opposed to past numerical data. Unfortunately, we go the other way around. But fair enough. People do go wrong because A, which is not even here on the slide, they do not consider text to be information. And then they don't know what to do with it. That's the strategic reasons I've talked about. If they know what to do with it, they have no idea which tools to use for it. Or if they have some idea, they try and sort of, make do with certain tools with inherent problems. And even if you have tools that you don't have an internal mechanism through which one guy gets dedicated to monitoring, trying to make sense out of it. So various issues, it doesn't matter. There is a classic example for those of us who tried to monitor sentiments. You monitor sentiments, right? Would some of these resonate with you in terms of the sentences I've given? So if you look at a sentence, I'll have the screen of the phone. This is how engines work. Nice technology. I have a list of very good words. I have a list of not so good words. If the good word is there in a sentence, it's a good sentence. If not a good word is there in the sentence, it's a bad sentence. So it works very well for a sentence like I love the screen on the phone. It's a good sentence. So the next question I as a manager would ask is, now imagine there are 20,000 of these sentences. 40% positive, 40% negative, 20% doesn't matter. So I say, oh, you know what 40% of the people like are saying positive things about the phone. The manager will say, okay, so what is it that's positive? Or what is it that's negative? Oh, I don't know. I just found the word like or love there. Love what? So very quickly, it remains unstructured. So you try to structure it, it's still unstructured. Would I be right? Yeah. Other way of doing it is saying, hey, listen, if you're saying something, you love something, what is it that you love? You love the screen of the phone. You assign a score to it. Another fantastic sentence, love the screen but hate the phone. That's the way we talk. Right? Despite the problems with the caretaker, I still love the location of the hotel, or whatever else, right? That's the way you talk and that's the way you write. You never sort of, say, I love the hotel, full stop. I like this car parking, full stop. That's not the way you talk. In a complex sentence, typically people will say, yeah, there's a +1, there's a -1, there's a good word, there's a bad word. Overall, it's an okay sentence. It's neutral. It's absolutely wrong. It's not an okay sentence. There's very valuable information in there. Unfortunately, you're not tapping it. This model is like an earlier model, just giving a random example, right? Because you've trained the engine, or your tool is looking for words. Like is a good word. I like you versus the model is like an old one. What do? Positive thing. Okay, so not only have you not made it actionable because you haven't told your manager what is it that people like or don't like. As a matter of fact, now you start giving him wrong information. Fair enough. The same goes for the last two sentences as well. You've been told by brand Y, please monitor every communication about me. I want to know what people are saying about me. So you find the sentence, your automated tool looks for the word brand Y, picks up the sentence and says, hey, the word prefer is there. It's a good sentence for you, sir. People like you. No, they don't. They actually like brand X. They actually don't like you as much compared to brand X, etc., etc., etc. So by the time you're done with all this, your accuracy levels would probably be about 55% positive, 55% accurate and 45% inaccurate. And then you give it to people and a manager like me will say, yeah, but what do I do with it? For every right answer your tool is giving me, I'm also getting 3/4 wrong answers. Now how do you sort of fix for that? By the way, before I sort of move on, since you've done this in the past, would all these things resonate with you? And how do we fix for that?
So there are these type of patterns, like you said, life can be by natural positive, this contact. So you have to tune your engine or context in the word.
And then you move from 5 to 6 slides and engagement. Right. So that's the issue, that a lot of these engines that are not kind of stuff face. Or actually, if you don't mind, could I sort of continue with this and then we, okay. Practical implementation, especially when you're looking at external data as opposed to internal data like emails, etc. It's quite possible you're going to get a lower jump. So I put in the keyword on some banks, okay, ICICI, HDFC, whatever. I said, what are people talking about? Are people happy with these banks? 80% of my tweets or 80% of the data coming in on Facebook, etc. was around stock price of ICICI, HDFC, Axis Bank expected to go up, please buy shares. So stock price, a lot of these stockbrokers doing their own publicity on that. So you need a mechanism to get rid of all that. In this case, from a 250 kind of number, you need a filtration mechanism to come to the relevant messages for you, simply because a lot of them are news articles, a lot of them are stock tips, etc., which may not be relevant if you're a customer service person. It may be relevant if you're a CFO, etc., saying what are people saying about my stock. It may be relevant in some cases when you're a PR guy saying what are people saying about me on news. So depending on what kind of articles they are, you might want to sort of give it to different people. And these are the kind of tweets that we, at least I found, might have been important for ICICI. Some of them talking about, so as an example, your representative called me over 15 times today, even after saying I do not want to renew the policy. Is this how ICICI works? Okay. This is public information, so I'm sure I'm not infringing any copyright or anything. But how many times have we guys got calls from people selling us the same credit card over and over and over again? And we do that and forget, I'm talking about external systems. The internal systems are tied up with it. So those messages that I was talking about, say for ICICI, should ideally get passed to different departments. Ideally in real time, especially on the customer service department, it should be as real time as possible, because what you want to do immediately on the platform is just type a response right now, saying, really sorry you're facing this issue, we'll look into it, please give us your phone number, let me call you and discuss this. Something like that. Because the same 70 guys who saw that negative comment and formed an opinion about ICICI based on that will now also see your response and maybe form a positive opinion because they saw you responding literally within 2 or 3 minutes of that thing getting posted. Okay, so now you can actually turn negative stuff into positives. But there are other features as well. You can sort of, go into and pass on the information to other people. Let me take a quick half a minute to sort of figure out what we could do and show you something if I can as a practical example. The internet here is slightly slow, so I'm not sure whether I'll be able to connect and if so, whether how fast it's going to be. But we'll give it a shot. I would love to have shown you a demo, but yeah. Let me see. Let me see if I can show you something else. Forget social for now. This is another app this is a corporate email box that we got, which had 1,500 emails or whatever, of an online events management company, and they used to get a lot of their orders online and used to dispatch products or actually get teams to go there and organize events. And while there were lots of customer service representatives sort of answering customer emails real time as they came, when you spoke to top management, you really didn't have a clue, or they didn't have a clue as to what kind of emails they get. Do they get lots of emails from customers? Do they get a lot of, and if they do, then what do customers talk about? Do they get lots of emails from, say, suppliers? What are their issues, etc., etc.? Say, I've got these 2 guys, they keep responding or whatever, and maybe they even do some kind of classification, but I really don't know. So we dumped all these emails into this tool, and we said, okay, what are the top trending terms that you get from these emails? Let's start with the very basics. What are the top words you get? And how many different documents do you get those words? So if I keep saying Rajat, 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 Rajat 5 times in one document versus 5 different documents talking about Rajat, the answers will be probably different. So what we found very quickly was that some of the top trending words, and maybe it's not a surprise actually, appear in the same number of times as different number of documents, which translates into these are stop words. These are like your dear sir, etc. Even though a cleaning exercise has already been done, to remove a lot of those words, maybe left with some words. So for leads, link, etc. So these are your standard, maybe you know the emails that you get saying I will provide you leads as long as you go, whatever else, right? So same number of emails and same number of. So let's actually look at these. Incidentally, synonyms and various forms of the terms are also kind of aggregated in there. And if you look at the kind of action associated with leads, yeah, these are actually just simple emails coming from one provider, just dial, which I think as a standard piece just kept using leads in the text. So this is not too much I'm worried about. Okay, so this is not a word I'm bothered about. Maybe I can just cut it out. I won't do any further analysis on it, so on and so forth. Then I keep going down the list, and I find the word order, and this is the first time when these two columns are not equal. So it's not really a stop word. So I go into order and I want to figure out what are people saying about order. That's important for me. My business is based on order. And again, you see various forms of the word coming in. And you want to say, what are people saying about order? So now you're looking at action words, so to speak, for order, right? I want to place an order, the order is good, so on and so forth. And you want to see if there are some things that you can analyze right from there, which might be of interest to you. And pretty much top of the trending list is the word cancel. And if you're a business manager, that becomes suddenly very important for you, so you immediately want to go and say, why in the world do people cancel an order? So from X 100 or X 1000 emails, within 2 passes, so to speak, by just looking at the frequency and seeing what the important terms are associated with it, you've actually narrowed down to X messages that deal with cancellation. Okay, someone's writing about this, I won't get into the actual message because I think that will be an issue. But essentially what we found out was that lots of people were actually facing delays in delivery. And that was an issue not with the company per se, but with the courier provider. Another case we found out, and maybe if I get time I'll go to that, there were actually a lot of transaction failures. And they used to get their automated emails from payment gateways. And it's like, what's going on? And we found out a reasonably high percentage of their orders somehow never go through the payment gateway. So what is really going on there? Why do you have this whole customer experience issue at the time of making a payment? What if a customer doesn't redo the entire thing and just goes off to another guy saying, yeah, make once those are the kind of things that become important to a person without the person ever knowing that some of these issues, and this is internal information. Okay, this has been information that's lying with the business for the last 6 months, a year, God knows what. And you can immediately sort of group all these together and say emails from the Chennai office, most of the issues in Chennai office relate to blah, in the Bangalore office, most of the issues relate to blah and whatever else. And it becomes very easy for you to categorize stuff. And you're not dependent on your drop-downs, which you in your intelligence have created, hoping that some customer complaint is going to fall only in one of those drop-downs. A customer, when he calls, he will have 3 issues he's talking about. Employee suggestions, someone is talking about employee suggestions. Tons of information lying within your organization on suggestions you can take, etc. So anyway, so this was another